Okay, Job, not about the place whose where it is mentioned as it has happened, not even the author. We do not know who could be the author, but the time somewhere around Abraham, considering the literary form and some of the narrative things that were mentioned in the book of Job. Yeah, till Esther, we get to see the narrative how God chose Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and a nation that formed, and the kings, and then exile and return to back to the promised land. Now, the rest of the books follow different pattern, especially the poetical things that come up. Job is one such categorical book in which we get to see a lot of thinking that happens through the thought processes or the dialogues or even the monologues that happen. So this story opens with Job. He was described as a person who's blameless, upright, and faithful to God. He has a large family, great wealth, and is highly respected. Now, in cosmic sense, in that scene, Satan challenges God, arguing that Job is only faithful because of all the things that he has, blessings. But now God allows Satan to test Job's faith by taking away his wealth or his health or children. And now his friends Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, they come to comfort him, sitting in silence with him as he mourns, and they start talking from fourth chapter onwards. But that's a setting in the first couple of chapters. As Job opens his lament, he talks like this. He finally speaks after 6 days or 7 days of silence. He starts cursing the day he was born. He's in totally despair, questioning why he's even alive if he has to suffer so deeply. And Job's lament is very raw here and filled with sorrow as he grapples with his pain and confusion. This chapter basically acknowledges that even the faithful feel despair. Job's honest lament reminds us that God understands our pain and doesn't expect us to hide our feelings. Now, 4 to 14, the debate begins. Here are these three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, and they start accusing Job. So each friend takes turns. In fact, from fourth chapter till 20th chapter, three cycles of friend talking and then Job replying. So another second friend talking, Job replying. Third friend talking, Job replying. So like this, three cycles happen. Primarily, it is to give Job advice and challenging him. And Eliphaz suggests Job's suffering must be a result of sin, implying that if Job repents, he'll be restored. Bildad and Jophar also echo the same idea, arguing that God is just and wouldn't allow suffering without cause. Job, however, maintains his innocence and expresses frustration both at his friends' accusations and also he expresses his frustration over God's silence in the midst of all these things. And basically, these chapters till 20, chapter 4th to 20, they explore how well meaning friends they can also hurt. In fact, they hurt more than they help. Job's friends insistence on a simplistic view of sin equals suffering. That shows the danger of assuming we understand God's ways and how easily we can misjudge others' pain. Now, 15 to 21, the debate intensifies. The friends double down on their arguments. Eliphaz also accuses Job of lacking piety. Bildad says he must deserve even worse. Zophar asserts that wicked people always face punishment. Job becomes more insistent, even calling his friends as miserable comforters. He begins to question why the wicked sometimes prosper while the righteous suffer, feeling isolated from God. These chapters reveal that simplistic explanations of suffering fall short, and they encourage us to be cautious in how we support those in pain. Job's questions about injustice also reflect our strength, struggle to understand the suffering we see in the world. Now, 22 to 31, Job in his reply, he defends himself and he gives the final speech. He says, here the words of Job ended. His friends continue to pressing the thought that he must have sinned. But Job remains adamant about his innocence. In a heartfelt speech, he describes his past, his respect among the people, and his acts of kindness. He expresses a desire for God to speak directly, and he concludes by defending his integrity, listing ways he has lived righteously. So these speeches remind us that sometimes only God can give the answers that we seek. And Job's insistence on his righteousness shows that personal suffering is not always due to personal failings. A powerful reminder against quick judgments. Now, I like this portion. Elihu's speech also come in that. A young man named Elihu comes to picture in the 38th chapter, and here um, he has been listening quietly, and now he finally speaks up, and he suggests that both Job and his friends have missed the mark. Elihu proposes that suffering can be a form of instruction or refinement from God rather than the punishment. He emphasizes God's greatness and the limits of human understanding. Basically, Elihu's message is a reminder that God can use suffering to teach and refine us. Elihu also points to God's majesty, preparing for God's response by shifting the focus from human arguments to divine wisdom. I really um, like that 37th chapter where this young friend who rebukes the uh, three old folks of Job, and he puts his reason. As we move on, now God Himself steps into this conversation. So, God answers Job out of a whirlwind, but now instead of directly explaining Job's suffering, God asks a series of questions about the wonders of creation, stars, the sea, the weather, the creatures of the earth. These questions highlight God's infinite wisdom and power, showing Job that human understanding is very limited. Through these questions, Job gains a sense of God's greatness and the mystery, the big picture. So, God's response here reveals that His purposes and plans are beyond our understanding. This passage really invites us to trust in God's wisdom even when we don't have answers, and to stand in awe of His sovereignty. Now we see the last chapter 42, Job's restoration. Humbled and awestruck, Job repents not of sin but of questioning God's wisdom. God then restores Job's fortunes, giving him double what he had before. Job's friends are corrected, and Job intercedes for them. In fact, he offers burnt offering for them, and they were also accepted finally. Now he is blessed with a new family and lives a long and fulfilling life. So this conclusion shows that God's plans are redemptive. And Job's journey from loss to restorative phase of life teaches us that we must be having resilience, trust, and ultimate hope. We must be having in God's goodness. It reassures us basically, while suffering may be a mystery, God is faithful and just. Overall, spiritual themes in Job: faith amidst suffering and limits of human understanding, God's sovereignty over everything, and His compassion. And in the midst of all, we should be praying for patience and humility. God bless you.